Etruscan alphabet and the development of it. The Etruscans seem to have gotten their alphabet from the Euboean Greeks, which had settled on the island of Pithecusae off the coast of Campania near the city of Cumae, somewhere around 750 BCE. That seems to be when the interaction seemed to be taking place and the exchange of the alphabet was occurring. And this is further supported by evidence of the earliest inscription on a vessel from Tarquinia around 700 BCE. Because the Etruscans use Greek letters, we end up calling them by their Greek names. So therefore, this up here is an alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, digamma, etc., etc. The early abecedarium, which is just an alphabet, the entire alphabet written out, is on a miniature ivory tablet from a tomb at Marcelliana del Albegna. It's written in sinestro verse, so going from the right-hand side of the page to the left-hand side, and we have it up here. And so we have 26 letter forms up here: alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, digamma, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, samek, omicron, pi, sade, copa, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, xi, phi, and chi. However, the Etruscan language has fewer sounds than the Greek one, and therefore several of these letters get lost by around 500. We lose beta, we lose delta, we use the samek, we lose omicron, and then eventually we lose the xi, although at first it's used in a couple of cities, but only for a very short period of time. So in the end, we end up losing it. So for the first couple hundred years of Etruscan, they would have been writing out that entire alphabet. But eventually they start to reduce those letters and then adopt it and change it to their own, what they need. So let's get a few later alphabets up here on the board and show you some of the changes. So here we have the later alphabets from that initial archaic alphabet. And there's a bunch of important changes that occurred. But one thing I should tell you guys before we go into talking about the changes is that none of these are uniform. Etruscan is known for being a very regional language, and so cities and regions have certain letter forms and certain sound systems that they employ in those areas that aren't seen in other areas. So these are just general trends that you can see in the development of the alphabet. There is a general divide between Northern Etruria and Southern Etruria, or Central Southern Etruria. You can see that that all these alphabets have lost those extra letters: the beta, the delta, the samek, that weird square, the omicron, and the xi, which was in Greek is represented by the X. Here in the 6th century, we see in northern Italy they've also gotten rid of this gamma, which is the C, and they also have gotten rid of the copa sound. And they haven't yet added what looks like an 8, but is really a f sound, the F sound that we make in English. In central Italy, a little bit in the south, we still have the gamma, and we still have the kappa and the copa. That doesn't last forever. And we also have the addition of the f sound. And you'll also notice the difference. Northern Italy seems to have gotten rid of the tails on the f and ki, and central Etruria seems to have kept those. Here, by the 3rd century, the kappa has been replaced with the gamma, and then we also have these weird formations of mu and nu. That's not really common. It's unique to this area. in northern Italy. And we finally have the sound fully integrated. And then you have in central Italy, we finally have lost the kappa, but we've kept the gamma. And we've lost our copa, and again, the f sound is still there. All right. And so what this shows is that Etruscan is that a language is evolving, and very much one that is regionally important. Similar to how the Greeks have regional dialect, the Etruscans have regional alphabets. Early inscriptions in central Italy we see all three of these letter forms, the gamma, the kappa, and the copa, being used to make a k sound in the Etruscan language. And as you see, by the 3rd century, it's been reduced to just that one letter form for the gamma sound. In the end, there's 20 letter forms for the Etruscans once their alphabet has been all developed. Now, most of your inscriptions for Etruscan are going to be sinestral verse, so that means going from the right side of the paper to the left side of the paper. Some, however, are dextroverse, meaning being read from the left to the right, like we would normally in English. And it seems to be a trendy thing. They only last for a generation or so, and in certain areas. And as the Romans grow and expand their power, and Latin becomes a more dominant language, we also see Latin, the Latin way of writing, going dextroverse from the left-hand side to the right, becomes also more popular. Rarely do we see it boustophodon, which is written as the cow plows, so going from one side of the paper and then just picking up on that side, going down, as a cow would be plowing his field. Rarely do we see that. It's very common in Greek, but not so much in Etruscan. In Etruscan, we have little to no punctuation. Actually, Etruscan is known for often being written in scripto continua, meaning a continuous script without any divide between the words. Early on, you do see the introduction of 3 vertical dots in between words in archaic inscriptions, and then in later inscriptions, in the 5th and 4th and 3rd centuries, you start to see the colon and a high dot as dividers between words. Unfortunately, most of our evidence is not long enough to tell if they used sentence punctuation or paragraph punctuation, although from some of the longer inscriptions we have, like the Tabula Capuana, it does seem they would have divided it up into paragraphs. Now, when did this alphabet fall out of use? Well, it fell out of use when spoken Etruscan fell out of use, and we have the Romans to blame for that. It seems that as Rome expanded and took over the different Etrurian cities, Etruscan started to collapse. We have Latin inscriptions in some southern cities as early as the 2nd century BCE, but then in other northern ones like Pisa, they don't come around until as late as the 1st century CE. And so it's a very piecemeal growth, and definitely there was a period of time when Etruscan and Latin is being spoken at the same time and used at the same time congruently. And that's one of the reasons why we're able to decipher this is these bilingual inscriptions have helped us kind of pick out different words. So this is the development of the Etruscan alphabet from the archaic period